Welcome to the X Block.
Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir! Then listen up.
You're listening to the X Block. I'm Jared, he's Caleb. Let's get into it.
You are listening to the X Block Podcast, episode 26. I'm Jaren, and I'm here with Caleb.
Heyo.
And this is the world's greatest Xbox podcast.
Yeah, number one, dude. Probably. Maybe.
Top notch.
You went into that, man, right before we started, and you're like, is it episode 26? And I'm like, I don't know, because, do I care? No, I don't care. And then you just said it with such confidence. I really hope it's episode 26. For our sake.
This is coming to you live from my brand new Blue Yeti microphone.
It sounds good. That's what's going on, because, I could tell we didn't talk about it. I didn't say anything, but I could tell that there was something different about you. And
Yep.
And it's a microphone.
Microphone and other things in the bedroom things.
Nice, man. So, besides a new microphone, what's been going on with you this week, man? Not games related. You had, job stuff, making moves and, driving and all. What's all that shit? What you got going?
Oh, dude, there's been a few podcasting, contracts and things. We got some marketing things in the works.
That's hype.
We had to get some new mics. That's why I got one for Kyle, too.
Nice. Yeah, making moves.
Yep. So just doing shit. Caleb's got a new job now.
I got a new job
finally.
too. Yeah, I'm a weekend editor now, or the weekend editor at a small website called Pro Game Guides. And so they are rapidly expanding, and they hired me. I tricked them. You got tricked. If you're listening to this, I fooled you. Gotcha. No takebacks. So but seriously though, I do that now. So that's pretty cool, pretty fun. I get to use my editing and writing experience to try to manage a website for a weekend. Every week. It's under the same network of a gamers group, which also owns GamePer. So I can still do contributor writing? Fuck it. I can write for them too during the week. It all works out, it's nice.
So what have you been playing, Caleb?
Oh, that's a brilliant question. Yeah, so I've been busy this week, with training, and also I've just been watching more stuff. Jaren, you been watching anything? I'm curious. You watching shit on Netflix or whatever?
I watched a new baking show.
Baking show? Okay, yeah, okay. When did you watch? You watched the Bob Ross documentary too, right?
I did. That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so I've been playing the usual just a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh and some Splitgate and Siege, but that was more the beginning of the week. And then I think did you and I play Outriders? Did that happen?
I think twice, yeah.
Yeah, that happened at some point. That was fun. That was probably the best part of the week for game-wise, obviously, not overall-wise. I fucking hate you. But The Elder Scrolls Online, I barely got to play that, so that wasn't very nice. I wanted to play that more. I'm too busy. Life gets in the way sometimes. But watched a lot of Family Guy, caught up with, I think it's season 20, the latest season, right? And some One Piece for all you dorks out there who know what One Piece is. And that's been my week. So not too many games, not really many updates at all.
It was a good week.
Yeah, but you and I managed to watch a games-related thing that will come up in Outside the Box soon.
I finished Gears Tactics. I think that was last week.
Hell yeah, dude. The weeks kind of just roll together. Who cares?
It's true. And I started Yakuza 0.
The Yakuza.
And the Surge 2.
You want me to tell you a funny story, Jaren? It's pretty stupid. So, Jaren knows, some of you might know, probably not. I go to trivia with my friends just in town where I live, at various places every week. And we just win money, and then we get free food because we win money, and we do that in a perpetual cycle. We went to one place 2 years ago, right, Jaren? And one of the categories was all the answers had the letter Z in them, right? And so I'm going to ask you, Jaren, do you know the group that many the thing that many deem responsible for the death of Princess Diana?
Yakuza?
No, see, that's what we turns out paparazzi is the answer.
Oh.
The paparazzi are kind of responsible for that, but our dumbasses were like, wait a minute, was it the Yakuza? Did the Yakuza kill Princess Diana? And so we put the Yakuza. And then he's like, we put in our sheet and he gave out the answers at the end. And he's like, and the, paparazzi. And we were like, fuck. Because we put the fucking Yakuza.
See, I feel like I was gonna say media, but then I was like, why did Caleb bring this up? And media doesn't have a Z, so it's gotta be the Yakuza. And then you were like, no, I'm dumb. That's why I put Yakuza.
Yeah, me and my friends who, all fucking college did fucking educated idiots over here. So there was that. And then, another one, just kind of an aside. There was one that was like, a rocket propelled, I don't know, like a rocket launcher, another one named for a rocket launcher. And you ever get like so fucking, like he ended up taking it, but you ever get like so fucking full of yourself, like you think you got such a big dick that you're like, oh, it's Panzerfaust, you know, because you played Call of Duty once, so like good for you. Yeah, well, you could have just put bazooka like any normal person.
Yep.
So, you know, he took Panzerfaust because we had to explain it to him, but, you know, shout out to us for being dickheads who put Panzerfaust and not just bazooka. Anyway, that's a tangent.
And after that tangent, why don't we hop over to Outside the Box?
Outside the box.
Where we cover all the news you need to know outside the Xbox community. And now for the first story, we're going to talk about everything PlayStation, starting off with the PlayStation Experience that they had on Thursday, where they announced a ton of games.
Yeah, I don't think it was the PlayStation Experience. It's a PlayStation Showcase, Jaren. And you know how I know that? Because Game Informer even issued a correction where they're like, we called it a State of Play, but it's actually a PlayStation Showcase. And everybody was like, thanks. But yeah,
Same
this
shit,
is
different hole.
And this is just kind of really the news for the week. I mean, we're going to get to the X block later, but it's a little lighter on Xbox news, but the big news for like the industry this week was the 40-minute PlayStation Showcase that happened, where a bunch of games got announced, and it's basically PlayStation's hoorah for the rest of this year.
And one thing we're going to say, which in any other episode would be blasphemy, I'm going to say a shout out to Kotaku for being the only news place, when I looked yesterday and made this show doc, that had all of the announcements in one single story, because all the other news outlets wanted to drive up traffic, so they had every single story separately, which is the only time anyone's ever done that for any conferences this year.
Listen, I mean, maybe other outlets actually did it, but the problem is if Jaren found it first and the only place that he found it was via Kotaku, then that's a problem. You know, that's, and maybe it's not a problem, you know, so we give shout outs to Kotaku, so you know that when we shit on them, we mean it, you know, there's no bias here. Jaren's like, hey, they did something good. Well, maybe tomorrow they won't, and you'll know we're honest about it. So Jaren, hit me up with the beginning of this roundup here that they did. Lisa Marie Segara, I think is her name, who did the roundup over at Kotaku.
Yeah, well, the first thing she points out also happened to open the show, and that was they showed off the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, and by showed off, I mean they showed a CG trailer and said, it's coming at some point.
Yeah, it's kind of a CG trailer even. I don't know, what is it, like 10 seconds?
Yeah, it's like a title.
Yeah, it's just like they mentioned Darth Revan and kind of show him there. And they're like, coming fucking, later. And this crazy story is, for those of you unfamiliar, which I don't know, you may be, I don't know. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is a BioWare game. And it is a beloved RPG and a beloved Star Wars RPG and one of the greatest beloved Star Wars IP. And it initially released as an original Xbox game back in 2003. And it was an exclusive for that platform. So it's the crazy thing here is now tables are turned. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. They showed it at the PlayStation Showcase. I think it's developed by Aspyr Media.
Yep.
And it's going to be at launch a console exclusive for the PS5. It'll also come to PC. We assume that means. And it'll later, we assume, come to Xbox. But console launch exclusive, PS5.
And apparently a PC version is in the works. And since they said it as a console exclusive at launch was their exact quotes, we assume that means that it will be available on PC at the same time as it launches on console. That
would make sense to me. For those of you who don't know, I mean, I don't know why you would know this either, but Mr. Matty Plays, he actually leaked this, or like he, put it together and found it out, like, I don't know, a long time ago. So some people thought like this was news, or that it hadn't been leaked before, but it was. Mr. Matty Plays put this together like in February, or at least earlier.
And in terms of the other huge announcements, we got to see is a strong word. We saw a CG and a title for Marvel's Wolverine, which is being made by Insomniac. Insomniac also showed off Spider-Man 2, but they slapped 2023 at the end, which means Wolverine's not till 2025. So Sony's definitely doing their old thing of, hey, let's announce a bunch of games way early because we don't have any games ready, but we'll make it seem like we have lots of games.
They do that often if you go back in their history, and we're not saying that the game doesn't look cool. Like Wolverine's, like that's cool. We're saying we have a problem with you announcing it like 4 years out. Now, to be fair now with everybody, Jaren, for the first kind of time that I really recall them doing it in a big way, Xbox did kind of do this with their games, like when the Series X launched and like a little bit before. I guess because they were trying to like show people that, hey, we're now making games for realsies in the first party, bunch of games coming, and like farther out. But they now have enough studios and they're like pumping out enough stuff to where they can talk about shit later and still have things to talk about now in a really, succinct way. But whereas this is just like, yo, this shit's like fucking out there, like fucking Wolverine 2028.
Yeah, and is it actually, like, is Spider-Man 2 actually 2023? Because they usually never hit the year they announce.
I mean, someone put out on Twitter, I don't remember who it was, but it's like, Insomniac has either announced or released in the last year Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Wolverine. Like, what the fuck? They got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, they're working. And then next they showed off God of War from Sony, was that Santa Monica?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And they showed off that, and it looked cool. And then some weird thing on Twitter where everybody was like, I assume Xbox fans, you weirdos, were being like, they reuse the same animations. It's like, yeah, it's a game on the same engine. Have you ever seen a sequel that's only 2 years or 3 years later change up the animations? No.
Yes, that was pretty dumb. I'm gonna back up a little bit just to make sure we got this going down, Jared. So are you this Marvel? Just to back up quickly, the Marvel Wolverine thing. Are you excited about that? Are you gonna play it? Is this getting you? Are you gonna get a PS5 now?
If Sony's gonna consistently have Marvel IP games, I'll probably get a PS5.
Yeah. Okay. So that's they got Jaren. They sold him on it. That's cool. And then Spider-Man 2, you played Spider-Man 1, or I guess Spider-Man 2018, right? Was when it came out?
Yeah.
So were you excited for that trailer, the Spider-Man 2? It showed Miles Morales and Spider-Man with the like spider gear and the main villain was Venom. Are you excited about that?
I don't know, because it's like, yeah, I'm excited to play Spider-Man and I want to play the Marvel games, but I feel like every Marvel game I get is it's like really good, but it's never like a 10. It's not like when Naughty Dog shows off something and I'm like, all right, this has the potential to be like one of the best games ever made. I just know I'm getting a good Spider-Man game or a good Wolverine game, which is exciting.
Okay.
Like, I wish I could say the same thing for Square Enix. But yeah, it's not like I'm set in my ways of like, oh my God, Spider-Man 2, like some people are. Because Spider-Man 1's good, but it wasn't even considered for like Game of the Year that year. It was like in the running, but nobody was really going to give it to it.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, I'm asking Jaren because he actually owned a PS4 and like played a lot of these games. I've seen some of them played through or seen like parts of them played through, but I don't really have the same experience. So Jaren has more insight into that. And I frankly, like, just a heads up, I don't care enough about these things to just like to get a PS5. Not because I'm like, fuck them, I hate it. I'm just like, nah, it's not for me. Like it looks fun, looks cool, but like I'm not gonna I don't really care enough. And I'm also not rich enough. So that's another thing. But then God of War Ragnarok. So you played God of War 2018. What do you think about that, Jared?
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it? The God of War 2018 one, right?
Yeah, like 7 out of 10 from me.
Okay, and that's what would you say? That's controversial because some people called it the game of the generation, and Jaren was like, eh.
It's wild because as much as I said like I wasn't that excited for Spider-Man, Spider-Man's better than God of War by 10 miles in my opinion.
And you would say Detroit Become Human, which came out the same year, right? Better?
I personally like Detroit Become Human better than God of War. I don't think it's a better game at like a mechanics level or like a gameplay level, but I just like the story better.
So there you go, hot takes, hot tea coming in from Jaren. And for this trailer, though, dude, with fucking Ardius being a little whiny bitch the whole time and everything, are you looking forward to this? Is this like the story? Is it going where you want it to go?
It was the only trailer I didn't watch.
Okay, you didn't watch it. All right, well, basically, nope. Yeah, it looks like God of War. If you liked God of War 2018, I imagine you'll like this game. And also important about this one, we're not really a PlayStation podcast, but I mean, this is the big news for the week. So, and this is our big. Like, PlayStation probably won't talk too much for the rest of the year. So, like, this is it, guys. I think Cory Barlog, who was the director of God of War 2018, he is not directing this game. They got a new director. I think he said he was, like, burnt out, essentially. But I think he's still working on the game. He's just not the director. So, new guy, long time, I think, level designer or some nonsense. So, yeah, it's not going to be exactly the same. You know, it's going to be maybe a bit of a different, I don't know, tone or some different direction.
Yeah, I guess moving on to their, like, Japanese / like Square Enix exclusives. They showed off this game called Project Eve, which seems to be a possible exclusive. They weren't 100% about that, but usually PlayStation gets the Japanese games and nobody else does. So I'm just going to say that was kind of an exclusive. They showed Forspoken, which is like Western RPG meets JRPG, and it's written by Gary Whitta. That game looks kind of cool. I don't know if I have a PlayStation, I'll probably play it. If I don't at that point, then I won't. They showed off Ghostwire Tokyo, which is an exclusive to them for a year when it comes out in 2022. That game, like Caleb said during the show, it kind of just looks like Skyrim's magic in Tokyo. And then they showed off Deathloop.
Well, I'll mention a few things from the stuff that you mentioned. Yeah, so I guess the action sequences in Project Eve, and yeah, you can look up all these trailers on YouTube if you want, or go to Kotaku's article and they have them all posted there too. Project Eve had some cool action sequences when it was showing in-game footage. Everything else didn't care about. Not a huge Japanese guy in terms of playing Japanese games, especially RPG more kind of games. I'm just not into it as much. Or even action games, like a Bayonetta or some shit. Then you have Forspoken, and that one was cool. Like the I don't know what you would say. The mechanics looked cool, and the abilities and some of the traversal and things looked very cool. But then, like, the dialogue and her being very self-aware of how awesome the things she's doing were, that doesn't hit with me. That's not really a problem with the game, though. I'm sure that hits with some people, and that's a different choice and a different tone than other games kind of usually go with that kind of route. So that's cool. But it's just like, I don't like her. She's like, whoa, this is amazing. And you're like, okay. Like, all right, you just tone it down a little bit, you know? And then you had Ghostwire Tokyo, which I mentioned to Jaren. The hand abilities and like the magic or shit, whatever the hell is going on there, it looks like you're just using your abilities from BioShock or like you're a mage in Skyrim, you know, with no staff. So I don't know if that'll be fun or not, but the environment and everything looked cool, but the gameplay, I was like, I don't know, man, we'll see. And then the last thing you mentioned, Deathloop. I like what Lisa from Kotaku wrote about it. Like, I thought it was kind of perfect because she wrote, despite being less than a week away, we got yet another trailer for Deathloop. I'm not entirely sure why, as the last time a Deathloop trailer was released, the whole thing already felt tired. Just about everyone who plans to get the game is on board by now, but hey, here's another. And I thought that was a pretty good kind of roundup of that.
It's because Sony has absolutely nothing for holiday 2021 except Deathloop. So they have to just show Deathloop the entire time.
Yeah, they avoided the fall.
Yeah, so that's why you're going to keep now I assume you'll start seeing trailers of Deathloop on TV.
Exactly. Yeah, then they just kind of, I guess, you know, you're directing the show, Jaren. Go ahead with what you were going to do with the showcase. What do we have left?
The only things I forgot to mention for exclusives related stuff to PlayStation were Uncharted. Basically the entire series is coming out on PS5 and PC.
I don't think it's the entire series. It's a bundle, actually. So it's A Thief's End, which is Uncharted 4, and A Lost Legacy. They're getting PC ports, and they're getting, I think, a remastered for PS5. And they're going to release in early 2022, packaged together as Legacy of Thieves Collection. And, you know, you want to know something, Jaren? So, you know the Uncharted collection, right? 1 through 3.
So is the Uncharted collection on PC already?
Don't know. This is for Uncharted 4.
And The Lost Legacy. Yeah, that's the one that came after.
Yeah, this is what that is. I don't know about the first 3. Maybe through PS Now. I think they're available on PC. But here's the thing, Jaren. So you know the Uncharted collection, right? It's 1 through 3.
Yep.
So because of that, those games are in 60 frames per second, from what I understand. Uncharted 4 is not. And I don't think The Lost Legacy is either, but I don't know about that for sure. I just know what Thief's End isn't. So this is basically, you got to pay to get 60 frames here. I don't think they're upgrading the original Uncharted 4 on PS4. I think this is kind of like, this is the thing, you know? Like if you want the next gen upgrades for Uncharted 4, like, you know, got to pay for it.
Yeah, they just framed it in a different way this time.
That's what they do, man.
And then they showed off Gran Turismo, but it's Gran Turismo. If you want it, you know about it. If you don't care.
Amen.
The other things were third-party games, which is where we get into Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which looked pretty cool. It looked like Borderlands mixed with Ghostwire Tokyo and Skyrim and set in the fantasy world.
It looked like Borderlands, or at least, you know, like the new take on Borderlands with Borderlands 3, and it should be fun. If you like Borderlands, you already know, and if you don't like Borderlands, you already know. But they did show a lot of, Jaren mentioned to me when we were watching it, they showed a lot of gameplay, like vertical slices from different parts of the game and everything, so it looks like it's going to hit its release date, and that it's coming out on time.
Yeah, anytime you see like 12 different biomes and shit, it means the game's ready.
Yeah, and so it'll be out March 25th, 2022.
And then they showed off Rainbow Six Extraction, coming out January 22nd, 2022. Apparently, even though it's been delayed twice and renamed, so who knows if it comes out on January 22nd and even has the same name when it comes out.
Jaren, you excited for Extraction? We talked about it at E3 when they showed the trailer, but like, what are your thoughts now? What do you think?
It looks cool, but like, I don't really care.
You nailed it. That's exactly the thing I get. You look at it and you're like, you like Siege and those kind of games, and you're like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And then you're like, are you going to play that? And you're like, you pause for about 2 seconds and you're like, yeah, probably not. maybe later.
And they showed off Guardians with another trailer that makes the game look worse, because that's what Square Enix does with all their trailers of their Western games, where you see a trailer and you're like, man, I don't really know if I want that. And then the game comes out and usually it's fine. But
yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is what you're referencing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's supposed to come out October 26th this year, so very soon, actually.
Yeah, so we'll see if that game's any good. The rest of the stuff outside of the Alan Wake remaster, so the Alan Wake remaster is coming out. I guess get excited. It's very much a remaster, not a remake.
Yeah. Besides Alan Wake, they announced things like Blood Hunt's coming to PS5, the smaller indie game Tachia, which looks very good. It's very indie, but looks like high budget indie. And Grand Theft Auto 5 got its showed off the next gen shit, which got delayed to March 2022.
Oh yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, what do you have to say about the Grand Theft Auto shit?
It was the most disappointing and pointless trailer that I have ever seen in my entire life. And I watched the THQ Nordic Embracer Group E3 press conference, Koch Media press conference. That they showed me a trailer of exactly what the game looked like before. Modders have managed to make this game look 10 times better, and they're going to drop a next-gen version that they're going to charge for that looks like that. Eat a cock.
Yeah, dude. It's, I guess it's, I don't know, man. They showed screenshots at different times, right, up to now, and you could see things look way better, or they look decently better, or at least they have more fog, right? And then they showed this trailer, and you're like, oh, that's the same game that came out in 2013. And then they're like, wait, no, it's not. Look how different this is. And they might show you a specific thing, and you're like, yeah, okay, but nah, right? And they're gonna charge you for it, correct?
Hopefully, because of their delay and everyone's reaction to the trailer, hopefully they go back in and actually make it look good Sonic style.
That would be nice. But so that's GTA. And then I wanted to mention about Alan Wake because, yeah, the remaster got kind of, I think, leaked beforehand. People knew about it. But then it got officially announced that it was happening. And yeah, Alan Wake initially came out in 2010, and this will be a release for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC. And it was originally only an Xbox game, but Remedy decided that, it was a good idea, and this is a whole thing. So Alan Wake was a cult hit, Xbox game. Remedy then, started working with PlayStation more. They did the marketing deal, I think, with PlayStation for Control. And it's a great idea for them to put Alan Wake at the PlayStation Showcase, because those are the people who haven't played it. So if they want people on PlayStation to get on board and play it if they haven't, and it also advertises to Xbox people, but more so PlayStation people, because obviously everyone knows they're working on an Alan Wake 2. So yeah, it made a lot of sense for Remedy to partner with PlayStation to get this game to a new audience for the remaster. And it looks like a good remaster, but it just looks like a remaster.
And the last PlayStation-related news that actually came from outside of the showcase was PlayStation has acquired ex-Wipeout devs Fire Sprite, or Fire Spirit?
I think, no, it's Fire Sprite. Yeah, they're UK-based. I think they're Liverpool-based, and they're made up from people who... So Sony had a studio called Sony Liverpool, I think it was Studio Liverpool or Sony Liverpool, and they closed them in 2012. And so the devs kind of split up, and I think most of them, they made two teams in kind of the wake of that were mostly made up of people from that studio. And so now Sony acquired the studio, the people from the studio that they closed in 2012. And
so they
made some
fired
stuff.
them all, and then the guys got them to buy them back?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's happening here if you read. I wrote an article about it.
Wow.
And so I did some research on it. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here. And these people kind of work on VR titles and some other things, too, if you go to their website. And so, yeah, now Sony owns them. And they didn't really make anything. There was one game, it's like a survival horror kind of game that starts with a P that came out in 2018. That was on Xbox. And almost everything else was, I think everything else was a PlayStation kind of exclusive, or PC and PlayStation. So we're not really losing anything over on Xbox with that, but they're probably going to be put to work on, we assume PSVR 2 stuff, and then some other just, I don't know, whatever else. And they have 150 or 250 people there, so not a small studio either.
I hope that they fire them again, and then they make a new studio, and then they force them to buy them again, because it's just the ultimate funny circle. And that's all for Outside the Box. Now we're going to move over to the X Block.
Dude, I wasn't ready for it that time. You kind of scared me. I was about to take a drink, and I had to pull the fucking bottle out of my mouth like a heathen and just kind of go with it. Every week it's something with that shit.
Halo is back. and it has some changes, Caleb. I'm just going to let you take this because you're the Halo guy.
All right, man. So I guess we're gonna hit it off with something hot here, something you've all been waiting for. Welcome to the Halo Block, your podcast within a podcast, here to talk about all your Halo news, specifically Halo Infinite, leading up to its launch later this year. Jaren, does it launch like December 9th or 7th? Who knows? It's in December.
Yep.
I get it for free whenever it drops. But anyway, yeah, we got some new Halo Infinite news here, and GameSpot wrote an article that says Halo Infinite's next multiplayer beta starts this month, and it's much easier to get in. So, by the way, just want to throw this out here, GameSpot. Like, you can call it a beta, but like they call it a multiplayer preview. So, you know, kind of wrong there. But whatever. We won't hold it against you. But anyway, they got this time they're gonna have Big Team Battle and 4v4 Slayer, and that begins on September 24th. You can sign up as on the Halo Insider kind of thing that they have. There are links, but by the time you hear this, I think it may be too late because we're recording on Saturday, September 11th, and this comes out on Monday, September 13th, and you need to register by September 13th and complete the profile to be able to get in. But apparently this time, unlike people who, like me, you know, I'm not salty. I'm not salty, Jaren. The people who got left out, everyone will get to get in this time. There won't be any people, apparently, who can't get in. It's like everybody's welcome. As long as you sign up by this time, you know, like GG boys, we gonna roll out. And so they basically want to stress test the servers. And I think Brian Gerard, who is I don't know if he's the community manager over there, but he's someone who works over at 343, said that, quote, "We need everyone's help. Let's see how hard we can push our services and infrastructure so things will fall down during the preview instead of in December," end quote. So they're really looking to stress test shit. Yeah, so there you go. That's kind of the big update on there. But then they're also making some changes to Halo Infinite besides just the way you can and how many people can get into the multiplayer preview this time. And I think PC Gamer did a good roundup of this. So they wrote an article over there, Morgan Park in West Finland. They said, or the title is Halo Infinite's getting the old radar back and fixing most of our concerns from the preview. So for those of you who don't know, you know, the Halo Infinite launched and they had a motion tracker. And I think it was similar to the ranked motion tracker in Halo 5 Guardians, if I'm not mistaken. And so what it did was it only showed people who were sprinting, I believe. And I think that may have been it. There may be, and maybe shooting, right?
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, are you still there, Jaren?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Daddy's home.
Just making sure. So anyway, they said, 343 said, quote, "We found that most players missed the old properties in these social matches. We've updated the combat sensor to feel more like the motion tracker of old, which shows all movement besides crouch walking and should have that ready for folks to test in the next flight." So a bunch of babies who don't play a lot of Halo, Jaren, like myself or haven't, they're like, "Oh man, why are you just gonna, and people are gonna be crouch walking now? Like, why can people see you when you're walking? Then there's no reason," and you're like, "Nah, you guys are all idiots." There's a lot of arguments in the comments. You know, people are upset, some people aren't. But this is better, Jaren. You know why? Because they did it in Halo 3, and if they did it in Halo 3, that means it's correct. All right. And also, you just got to get good. People don't like that. You know, someone can see you walking up on them, and they use that. You know, it's a motion tracker. It's a radar, believe it or not, Jaren. So it turns out it can pick up when you're walking, and you use that as part of the gameplay. Some people don't like that because they're bad at the game. But
yeah, your highly sophisticated Spartan suit can pick up when people walk around. Shocking.
Yeah, it turns out. Yeah, and so, you know, that wasn't an issue in 2007, but suddenly everyone who's bad at games thinks it's an issue and hasn't played Splitgate yet, I guess, too. But there you go. So that's being changed. A new friend or foe outline system gets tweaks to make shield status clear. So apparently, I'll just read kind of what PC Gamers said, or they quoted 343. So 343 said, quote, "We've already made significant FX changes to better communicate the health of a target. You should always know if you're fighting a player who has an overshield, full shields, weakened shields, or broken shields. You'll be able to see these improvements in our next flight. As more options, such as turning outlines off entirely, we'll need to explore how realistic this is given our timelines for launch. We're always in favor of providing more options to our players," and that end quote. As you can see, the language there is pretty good from 343 of just being like, we're listening to our players. And they are. They're really taking feedback from the multiplayer preview, like changing the radar, and apparently it was too hard to tell like shield outlines based on the coloring scheme that they made, you know, because now Spartans aren't just red or blue. They have like a red outline, right, if they're on the other team. And so 343 said, quote, "A common note was to have players' gamer tags appear above their head when looking at them. We completely agree and can confirm that names weren't showing up due to a bug. A few of you noticed that we had an option to display gamer tag or service tag in game, but it just wasn't working in this build. This fix may or may not make it into our next flight, but it will be there for launch." And then lastly, you'll be able to tweak AI voices, voice lines, and Spartan barks. I don't know why they said that. It's fucking Spartan barks. You want to bark at me, man, like a Spartan? What do you think it sounds like? I said that's the last thing. That's not the last thing. There's also weapon drills will be expanded, including a sandbox to test everything. Some of these last few things aren't really going to be maybe in the latest multiplayer preview, but they will be, in the game at some point, and they're looking at feedback. And then I guess the last thing just to mention for Halo is they're still doing like Halo MCC, Master Chief Collection, Season 8. They're flighting it through September 13th, and I think it rolls out a little bit later in the month. And they're adding a bunch of armors that are like controversial because they look fucking crazy. Like one looks like a plague doctor, one's a skull, one looks like a samurai. Shit's just wild. I don't know. I don't play the MCC multiplayer really that often at all anymore. So if there's a way to turn that shit off and not see it, that's cool. If not, that's kind of lame because it really...
No, there is.
Okay, I was going to say, it's really lame. Like, you look at some of this stuff, and some people are like, it's cool. And I'm like, I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm saying it's not stylistically Halo. And then people are like, well, what about the Hayabusa helmet? I'm like, well, that was one thing. This is like a decision, And I don't know, it's kind of crazy. I would turn it off, personally. And then, yeah, they posted this big update on the Halo blog with, like, they have Halo gear coming out. Some of you may have seen that their pre-orders coming this October, I think, for a Halo Infinite themed Razer keyboard, mouse, and headset and mouse pad that looks fucking awesome. And then, yeah, that's basically all they got. They got some concept art images, I think, up on there, but that's mainly all the Halo news. Maybe if you don't like Halo, boy, you should have skipped ahead. But you're here now. You made it. You made it to the end of the Halo block. Your podcast. Within a podcast, Aaron, back to you.
So are you going to play?
Hey, play what?
The multiplayer flight.
Oh, yeah. If it's okay. Free to everybody, if they actually do send... I'm registered. Like, I'm all good to go on there. And, me being one of the highest achievement earners on Halo in history, and one of their longest players, they were like, no, Caleb, we don't like you. You can't be in the first preview. And I was like, that's fine, Dad. I know you didn't love me. That's fine. But this one... Jaren, hopefully they say everybody gets in. We'll see. We'll see if we get in, Jaren.
There you go. Caleb is both the longest and one of the shorter players. So whatever that you think that means in your mind, go with that.
Yeah, go with that. Jaren's right.
Moving on to the next story, we're going to talk about some hardware upgrades and some discoveries, Caleb.
Yeah, I love discoveries, dude.
The first is rather simple. Microsoft is bringing Xbox Series X/S controller features to last-gen controllers for Xbox insiders, and it's basically they just take better advantage of latency and Bluetooth connectivity that is in the newer controllers. They're making that available for the older controllers. That's it.
Yeah, dynamic latency input, and yeah, like you can double tap, I think, the Bluetooth button to switch back and forth between Bluetooth connected devices that you had. Just shit like that. It's just like old controllers, if you have them, are getting a little better. And you're like, that's cool.
There you go. That's exciting. And the discovery was that apparently on Xbox Series X and S, you can use standard SSDs in the expansion card slot, it is claimed. And this is from a modder. And they managed to convert an internal SSD into an external Xbox Series X/S expansion card, and they theorized that other non-proprietary SSDs could work. So essentially, if you're super smart and you understand how to do this, you now have different ways to upgrade your SSD. If you're a normal human being, just buy the card and plug it in.
Yeah, it looks like, that's true. It looks like a member of Chinese website Bilibili wrote a blog on it, and then VGC reported on that blog, if I'm not mistaken. It looks a bit complicated for me, Jaren. You look at this article, a lot of letters, a lot of numbers, and I hate those, But
looks like trying to upgrade your PS5 one.
It does, man. It really does look like that. By the way, unrelated, but they did... there was a video I watched. This is kind of PlayStation related, but you know how they did like a redesign? Apparently, the redesign, according to I think it's Austin Creed, the guy who did the Series X rundown before that came out. He got one, and the only way you can tell is based on the model number, I think, and some other things. And they changed it to where now, Jaren, you don't need a screwdriver. You can use your fingers to unscrew the things because they have some sort of, I don't know, rubber on them. But apparently, you can easily scratch your PS5 shell while doing that.
It's ugly anyway.
And then also they measured them. And they run up to 5 degrees Celsius hotter, 3 to 5, which 5 degrees Celsius is 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So allegedly, in their video, they proved that they run hotter, which may not be good for longevity. And so
I saw that from him, and then from other people, I saw that it ran colder. So
I saw that
now
too,
I don't know who to believe.
But I don't know. Yeah, that's all I know. So who can say? But anyway, yeah. You don't have to worry about your SSDs on Xbox and whether they'll work or whether you need a heatsink. Or whether you got the new model, so now you really fucking need a heatsink, maybe. You can just go buy the damn Seagate SSD that just works and is cheaper, Put it in your Xbox, it's great. Or this modder can tell you how to use a standard one if you want, apparently. I don't know. It's a lot of numbers, Jaren. Maybe you can do that.
I definitely can't. But what I can do is tell you what's coming from the first-party news
Whoa.
related to Xbox.
Good call, Jaren. Segue.
And the first story, Microsoft Flight Simulator pushes back Top Gun Maverick content after movie delay. And this is from some guy named Caleb Greer.
I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him, Jaren. Let's read what Caleb Greer wrote, Jaren, right here in the first paragraph. Developer Asobo Studio has delayed the launch of Microsoft Flight Simulator's Top Gun Maverick expansion into 2022. And then that is because Paramount Pictures postponed the film, which was originally going to release on November 19th, 2021. And they postponed it to, I think, Memorial Day weekend, which is May 27th, 2022. And Asobo was like, hey, we're going to launch this with the movie, obviously. So since they delayed the movie, we're delaying the content, obviously. So if you were looking if you were looking to fly in a Super Hornet and Top Gun like the Top Gun Maverick expansion and whatever else they were going to add in that free expansion for Flight Sim, get fucked until next year.
It's funny because, like, knowing the film industry, if they would have made this decision 4 days later, they wouldn't have delayed it because they delayed it before the results for Shang-Chi came in. And that it destroyed all the records, even though everyone's supposedly scared to go to theaters because of COVID.
I wasn't.
If they would have waited like 4 days, they would have had no reason to delay Top Gun. Sony even moved up Spider-Man. Or not Spider-Man, Venom. Sorry.
Okay, I was going to say,
2.
I didn't know Spider-Man got moved. Yeah, that's cool though, man. You got a lot more insight here. Jaren, the film industry guy, dropping some hard knowledge on you.
Yeah. The next Xbox first-party news is Forza Horizon 5 reveals a huge car list, and it's not even complete. Now, the Forza Motorsport official website currently lists 426 different vehicles to drive. Playground announced a number of debutantes on this list, as well as confirming that more cars would be added in due course, the post reads.
That's a lot of cars, Jaren. Are you going to buy all those and drive every single one of them?
No, I will only be driving the Ford Bronco unless forced to drive something else.
I was going to say, man, isn't it kind of just like Ford Bronco all the way? And like, why even have any more cars in this version? It's just Ford Bronco.
It's on the cover.
Do they have the Koenigsegg in here? They put that in there
Probably.
Again? They put the Hennessy Venom in there again?
I assume all of the cars that were in the previous ones are probably going to be back with probably some additions.
They put the Bugatti in there?
I don't know, Caleb.
Did they put the 2002 Nissan Skyline GTR in there, Jen?
And in other first-party Xbox news, Xbox and Arcane's Redfall has leaked via development screenshots. Essentially, a bunch of really early screenshots got leaked on Twitter, and they don't look great, but they're also, a year out?
Yeah, Andy Robinson said that it looks like, obviously, it's still being made and they're not done. And then he was like, art is usually the last thing that gets polished in a game after everything else. So, it's not representative of the final complete product.
So there you go. And that is all of the Xbox first-party news. And now we will move into the X Factor discussion. And we haven't said it in a while, but if you guys do listen to this podcast and you would like to throw us a question to talk about in the X Factor discussion, you can reach out on Twitter at XBlockPodcast, or you can leave it in our YouTube comments if you look up the X Block Podcast.
Jared and I seeing a few more people watching on YouTube in the last couple weeks. All you YouTube fiends out there, what up? It's your boy Caleb G.
Yeah, dude.
Leave me a comment.
Some comments.
Yeah. Comment to Jaren. Go on Twitter. People on Twitter, go to YouTube. YouTube people go to Twitter. Mix it up.
So, the X Factor discussion this week is, with PlayStation basically being the Marvel machine, have we seen the dispelling of the belief that any franchise is too big to be an exclusive?
I want to hear your thoughts first, because you made this question, and I kind of have thoughts, but I feel like your thoughts will flesh out my thoughts.
Yeah, I kind of tweeted in response to the PlayStation showcase saying that, like, I was excited for the Marvel stuff and it might make me more interested in PlayStation, but that it also made me think that it's possible that Indiana Jones is actually an exclusive, which I didn't think before. I would have thought Microsoft would have had to share it. But now, unless the deal was signed like before with it having to be multi-platform, I don't see why it wouldn't be an exclusive. And I'm wondering if now other Marvel characters will be able to be used on Xbox, or if this is solely just a Disney-Sony relationship thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even really consider what that meant for the Indiana Jones game being worked on. I'm like, that might just be an Xbox exclusive at this point. And some people would have been maybe more upset of that, but it looks like, like Sony and Marvel, like really getting in there, man. Like Disney's just giving them like all. I think we talked about too. The Knights of the Old Republic game is, which it's not Marvel, but it's Disney, Star Wars. So that's coming out. We don't know when, but from what Jared and I understand, Disney had an arrangement with EA to have Star Wars exclusive rights for 10 years, beginning in 2013. I'm not sure. And then I think there was an update, though, that they may have kind of reached some agreement where they could either like start licensing out the property to other studios now, the Star Wars IP, or maybe just that the game will be out after the agreement ends. I don't exactly know. I think it's the former. But yeah, so Disney seems to be getting in bed a bit more with PlayStation in terms of like, giving their studios their IP more. And then you also have what was it? They're working with Square Enix in a large capacity, like obviously with Guardians, right? And Avengers, because Crystal Dynamics made that. And then Square Enix just happens to work with PlayStation more than Xbox. And so even from an appearance standpoint, those games are kind of almost associated with PlayStation. And obviously they get some good marketing for them. But yeah, man, I don't think that any IP is too big at this. When you have these Marvel and Star Wars games being thrown around as like timed exclusives or exclusives, you're like, what is sacred,
Yeah, dude, I have no idea. Sorry if there was a bit of a lawnmower there for the listener, or if this sounds a little weirder, but I had to change up my audio setup just so you guys would be good.
That's so nice of you, Jaron. I thought you were using your Manscaped thing down there. No, but
speaking of Manscaped, this episode is brought to you by... No, I'm just kidding.
How dare you? I was about to interrupt you and be like, hey, man, we got to talk about this, because no, not yet. They're not ready for it. One day we'll be sponsored by Manscaped, and we'll tell you all about it, but not today. Last thing I was going to say, I guess, was you think of, like, the question is, have we seen the dispelling of the belief that any franchise is too big to be exclusive? Yeah. I mean, would it like is it if it's already established gaming franchise, like Red Dead Redemption 2 is huge, or like GTA 5 is huge, but partially those games are so big because they're multi-platform. So it's like I don't even think they ever could go exclusive. But then Rockstar could give some other exclusive games. They were obviously going to make The Agent or whatever, that one game at one point for PlayStation, and then they were like, yeah, never mind, and then didn't. So I don't know. What do you think about like that kind of whole like in the games industry already type stuff?
Yeah, I agree with you there. Where if it was something like Grand Theft Auto, if Microsoft bought 2K, for example, I think you'd see a lot of the Minecraft kind of related thing where it's so big, it's already still just going to be on other platforms. Also with sports games, you just have to, because that's how the contracts are.
Yeah, sports game. Well, the MLB, MLB finally got on Xbox.
Yeah, it's true.
I was going to say, though, I think, like what you were saying, you were like, yeah, if Xbox were to buy 2K, you would think you'd see more of the Minecraft approach where they're on other platforms. And it's like, yeah, that's because they're Xbox, though. And it's like, fortunately for us, Sony can't afford to buy shit, because if Sony bought 2K, they'd make every goddamn thing on the planet exclusive, dude. There's some stingy-ass motherfuckers that were there.
It's true. They did double down on the fact that you can only buy their new games on PS5, and they won't be coming to PC anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole thing over there, dude. And they a big part of their strategy for this generation is getting as many timed exclusives as possible and working with third parties to really push their hardware and like their marketing, for their console and their ecosystem and everything. Like they're really trying to push for that, dude. Like I know as some people don't like that Xbox bought Bethesda and like quote unquote took games from other people. I look at it as like, Sony just, gets you in the womb, man. They never let you get a chance, Like you never got to experience anything because fuck you, we got it to begin with. Xbox is like, you know what? You had a nice time, you had a good time. Now it's time to come home with us.
Yeah, PC players should thank Xbox for buying Bethesda.
Yeah, fucking, dude, just PlayStation, in my opinion. I mean, they can do what they want and they have to for certain, financial reasons, but they are stingy as fuck, I'd much rather anything get bought by Xbox than PlayStation, even if some things are exclusive, just because I know that there's a infinitely higher chance of anything being anywhere else with Xbox at the wheel than PlayStation.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, I feel like we both kind of gave our sides on what we thought about the X Factor discussion, so now we're going to move over to the FAF, Caleb.
Yo, my favorite part, dude. Everyone's favorite part of the show, the FAF. No one likes anything else. They kind of stay... You show up for the X Block, right? You stay for the FAF.
And if you're sitting here going, what the hell's the FAF? Well, the FAF is where stories that you see scrolling by on your Twitter feed, you go, that's clickbait. I don't know if I should click on that, or, wow, that sounds dumb. Maybe I should click on it. Don't click on it. I'm here to tell it to you, so you don't have to give ad revenue to them, and you can come give ad revenue to us instead.
We don't even get ad revenue.
That's true, but one day.
One day, dude. I was going to say, we do this for free, bastards.
All right, Caleb, hit me with the first one.
Is it a U-turn if you end up in the same place?
That's some Matthew McConaughey shit.
It kind of is. I had to think about it for a minute. I never know what these are going to be, man. And you know how like you send me the doc ahead of time? Well, for those of you who don't know, there's never any links or anything in the FAF. It just says these things I read to you. So I don't even know what they're going to be. But then on top of that, I never even read these until the first time I read them. Like I haven't read what's below that. I don't know what it says. I never read these, Jared. This is the first time.
Horizon Forbidden West's free upgrade means you shouldn't buy the PS5 standard version. And essentially, if you don't know, Sony reversed their stance on, what was it called? Like upgrades, I guess?
They reverse. So in 2020, you know, head of PlayStation, or head of Sony rather, Jim Ryan, your boy Jim Ryan, was like, there's going to be a free upgrade path for Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Horizon Forbidden West from PS4 to PS5. Free upgrade path. And then, you know, time came this year, or recently, and he was like, hey, psych, no, there's not. You got to buy the $80 edition, and then you get both, or you got the $120 or $200 edition, whatever the hell. And if there's no way to get you can't just buy the PS4 version and then get a PS5 and then have the PS5 version. You got to go buy another copy. And everybody was like, what the fuck, man? And then Jim Ryan said, that's fair, or at least I'm sad you found out. And so now he's going to give it to you for free.
Yeah. And everyone's calling this a U-turn, except they then said all games going forward will cost the extra thing. So they basically said, this is a U-turn, but we're still going the same way.
He's like, you got me there. I did say that in 2020. You got me. You know, hands up. But moving forward, though, I ain't say shit. So, you know, you gonna pay for it. And you're like, but Xbox doesn't make you pay for any of that. They just have smart delivery. So whatever console you're playing on that version. And it's simple and easy, and no one says boo. And they're like, that's really fucking cool, but shut up. And then that's PlayStation. That's them.
That's true. Hit me with the next one, Caleb.
The Duty Department, Resurrections and Reveals.
A month later, Activision has put its logo back on Call of Duty marketing.
Thank God, Jaron. Now I know who's making it, or who's publishing it.
Yep. Now that the lawsuit has blown over, apparently creative decisions matter no more. And Activision has put their name back on the Call of Duty. Caleb, you can't get away from it. It's there.
I can't, man. Now I know. When I'm playing that Call of Duty Vanguard, I'll be thinking about those diddlers, you know, over at Activision.
Yep. And the other things are, it looks like future Call of Duty games could be getting FOV sliders. Interesting, I guess. And Call of Duty Warzone's new Pacific map has been revealed. So there you go, a new map for Warzone, because who gives a shit?
Could you be more Pacific about that?
That's the end. We're done.
No, there's more here. The next one is heck of a way to advertise, ...
Player Unknown says prologue will be quite boring, but it will lead to something better. You know when PUBG said, hey, we're going to make a prologue to the game so you guys know what's happening?
Didn't that guy leave the studio? Or are you talking about just the PUBG game?
No, he left the studio and then said, yo, that prologue thing that's coming out, boring as fuck, but it'll lead to something better.
I don't know. PUBG was fun. You know, a while back. And it was a little janky, but it was fun. I had a good time with it.
It was a good game. It was fun.
Yeah. It was. You've never been more disappointed, though, when you walk around for 45 minutes and suddenly get capped from 2 miles away.
That's what a battle royale is supposed to be.
I know. It's you. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You and I were pretty good at winning, though.
We did pretty well.
Stay tuned for the prologue.
All right, Caleb. Last one. Quick quips. Billionaire wants to build a real-life Rapture in the desert.
What? What does that mean? Well, you mean like Rapture the City?
Yeah.
I thought you meant like a real life, like the verb, like rapture, like the biblical event where, you know, people get pulled up to heaven suddenly, you know?
No. This man, Mark Lohr, former Walmart executive, has shared his vision for a new city in America that will cost $400 billion to build.
So you said he's building it in a desert, right?
Yep.
Sounds hot.
It does.
That's my quick quip.
On the Xbox side of things, no joke, one best man gave a Halo-themed wedding speech. I almost didn't put this in here, Caleb, in case I had to give a speech at your wedding and then I could read something from Halo and you wouldn't expect it.
You know, man, I'm trying to think of a good Halo line to say regarding that, but I can't think of it off the top of my head, which makes me not a real Halo fan, I guess.
I was going to end the speech by saying, finish this wife.
That was a good one, Jaron. You got him. Yeah, I like that one.
And the last story in Quick Quips, which I traditionally take, EA may build Mass Effect 5 on Unreal Engine rather than Frostbite. And honestly, I didn't think it was going to be because of EA that I was going to find out that there might be a god.
Fantastic decision. I don't even have anything to like shit on because that's just good news. That's just wonderful news. I hate Frostbite.
And this is one of the rare times where we do end the FAF and the X Block on good news.
Hell yeah, dude. That was a good one, man. Good week. Good times.
Yep. And that was the X Block episode 26. If you would like to hear us on different platforms, you can head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, or you can head over to anything Anchor supports. If you'd like to watch the podcast on YouTube, for an example, you can head over to the X Block podcast on YouTube.
It's literally a still image.
If you would like
Go
to
watch
follow
it.
us outside of the X Block, it's normal. Oh, Caleb fucked me up now.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, go to @XBlockPodcast on Twitter. Leave us some comments, some likes, whatever you want to do. You can probably dig around and find me in there. And then, Jaren, if you want to find out about our Patreon, where do you go?
Oh, dude, I have no idea because you always do it. I've never known.
This is the greatest ending to any podcast ever. You go to patreon.com/xblockpodcast. Jaren, turns out, got a new mic before I did. And now it's my turn to get a new mic. When is it my turn to be happy? Which is a reference that some of you might get. So patreon.com/xblockpodcast. Throw us a few bucks to help me get a new microphone and maybe a new PC. So I don't have to worry about it crashing during the recording. That'd be nice. Patreon.com/xblockpodcast. And I think, is that it, Jaren? Is that everything?
No, tell your dad, tell your wife, tell your friends to listen to the X Block podcast. And Caleb also forgot about our Instagram, which is @XBlockPodcast over at Instagram.
You forgot about Twitch, idiot. It's you fucking damn it. _XBlock. Nailed it. First try.
Yeah, X Block out.
Thanks for listening to the X Block. New episodes every Monday at 5 a.m.